Hi, I'm John Genovesi. I'm here to tie a fly that I created about 5 years ago. It's called John's Easy Albie Hooker. And before I get started with that, I wanted to just go over a couple of things with you. Number one, this is the first albie I caught on the fly. And if you look real close, you can see that's the first one. So that was about 5 years ago, and since then, it's been a pretty cool pattern to tie. It's easy, number one. Number two, it's just got a couple of materials, and number three, it's been catching a number of different species besides albies, bonito, striped bass, bluefish, some of the other more peripheral species. So it's a fun pattern to tie, and let's get started. So the first thing I want to show you is that the material we're going to use is called large crystal hackle. That's one of the materials, and I want to show it to you because you can see that in the bag it gets a little bit messy. So I found an easy way to fix that. So what I do is I wet the whole. Usually comes in I think 3 yards. I wet the whole thing, and then I put it on a paper towel and brush it out, and it's nice and even now, so that when I polymer it, all those fibers won't get tangled up, because you could see some of them are a little bit fuzzy. If you look at those are examples of the ones I tied this morning that I didn't straighten out the hackle fiber, and you can see how it gets a little crazy. Some people might like that. It makes the fly a little bit fuller. I prefer it to be more streamlined, so that it looks more like a silver side early in the season, and then when you get into the other colors, anchovies, like that tan one. I tie the pink, but frankly, that's probably the least productive. Now I wanted to talk a minute about hooks. I use a size 1 hook, but you got to be careful, because an example of Gamakatsu, you could see the SC15 on top is, quote, a number 1, but look at the next one down, the 11, the Gamakatsu SL11. That's a 1 also, and I think the first one, I don't like that hook being, if you notice, it comes up and the gap isn't quite as nice as that middle one. So I use that hook, and I also use the old standard 3407 Mustad, which is the one on the bottom, which I'll be using. That's the one in the vise right now. So the first thing I do is just put besides the hook I got in here, I already pinched the barb. I was out in Michigan last week, and I was fishing for steelhead and Atlantic salmon, and one went right by my nose, and I said, I'm glad I nailed down the barb, because I fish catch and release anyway, so if I lose a couple, better to lose them than have to try to dig a fly out of my head. So let's get started here. As I said, Easy Albie Hooker. I called it that because it is pretty easy to tie. We're going to put a base coat of thread down. I use red thread. No particular reason other than I like the way it looks, and it might give a little indication of like gills. So I put that on there. These glasses are too strong. Let me go to these. So we'll get that first base layer down. And I don't know who's new to tying and who's not, but I tend to hold the thread, the tag end, away, and have the bobbin thread just kind of slide down, and it gives you a nice touching turns, wraps all the way back. So the first material that we're going to use is called this. I got it here somewhere. Here we go. It's called Ice Dub Shimmer Fringe, and there's a number of different types of materials you can use. I'm kind of a believer that you don't always have to use the material that's called for. Sometimes you find other material that might be just as good when you find out about it. So don't be so locked into what I'm going to show you here, because there are other things that are just as good. And that's the label. If you need that, you want to take a screenshot of that. I tie it in pearl with for this white one. This is my favorite one. Literally, you could see it literally being stripped through the water, which I find is pretty cool to as an attractant. I think fish can really pick up on it and see it. And I'm going to just take a bunch of this stuff. No real formula. That's a little too much. But. Now you can weight this fly too if you'd like. I typically don't. I just use a sink tip line or a full sinking line if I have to. But what I do is get these to not look so blunt, and I'll put those in about 1 to 1.5 lengths of the shank of the hook. And then if you don't tie it down too tight, you can kind of move it around a little bit and get it in there. So that's about good for me. And then I'm going to bring it back to kind of like right tied into right at the barb, if you can see that. Now if you're going to weight it, I'd cut these off much shorter so that I'd have more of a smooth transition from the tie-in point up to the lead-free weight, and it gives me a nice base. So without using weight, I tend to just tie it all the way to the front to the hook point, and then I'll wrap it back so I got a nice smooth base to palmer that hackle on. Okay, there's your first step. All right, then what I'm going to use is, rather than use the stuff straight out of the bag, I'm going to use this this one that I prepared earlier today, which you'll see is nice and straight. The fibers aren't all kind of kinked up and stuff the way it comes in out of a bag. Now if you notice the way the taper of the material goes, it goes down like that. It's counterintuitive. You want to tie in the back end of it. So we're going to just get a piece of this right here. Get that out of the way so I have just a cord to tie in. Alright, and then we're going to perform just a regular palmer touching wraps all the way to the front. Okay, and I tie this for shop, so a lot of times what I'll do is just leave it entirely the full length so I don't waste anything. But if you want, about 5 inches should do it on a 3407 hook like this. And even though I have a rotary vise, I find that it's easier just to wrap it on, because you need to primp those fibers out. You can see them here. Primp them out so they don't get all kind of bogged down into the cord as you're wrapping. And every once in a while loosen up See, I'll loosen that and just kind of pull, and you get all those fibers that are tangled inside there out, so that it's they're all laying nice and flat. And then you just kind of bring it all the way up. You can see how fast this thing gets tied. I mean, it's I kind of surprised myself that it works so good. And I can attest. I got a buddy here on the other side of the camera that he called me from his boat, and he says, "Hey John," he goes, "tie me up some more of those." He said they're really working good. So I tied them up a bunch. Still waiting for a trip on the boat, but we'll worry about that later. All right. Notice that I went way up to the front of the back of the eye, because what I'm going to do is brush all this stuff back and put a couple of turns of thread in there and form a head that pushes everything back to the rear. Okay. I don't really need it, but I don't use a toothbrush anymore, but now I use it for this. So it basically it's nice to just get all those fibers going the right way. All right, now final step. Large Flashabou. I use clear because you'll see that I'll use some there you go. I'll use some resin to stick the Flashabou. It's like a lateral line. I'll stick it right along the shank of the hook with resin, and because it's clear, the resin cures right underneath it, which is perfect. So I'm going to put a piece of this on either side, and if you keep it loose, you can pull that right up so that you don't have to worry about cutting it. If I can see, yeah, there it goes. All right, and I usually tend to cut it like right behind the tail, and then I'll use the other half of it for. You can see my eyes don't work real well, so. Kind of get that. Clean it up a little. I also use UTC thread because I like the fact that you can unwind it and it'll lay flat and it'll give you a nice head. We'll cut this to match the other side. All right, last step is a little bit of resin, and we'll put this on either side of the shank of the hook. Another thing I noticed about this fly is I fish the Catskills a lot, and there's a fish up there called an alewife. It's a bait fish, white, silvery white, just like this. And when the reservoirs are full, they spill over the top. So it's a fly that works up there on brown trout too. So I'm going to just whip finish this, and we're done. I always use like 140 denier, because I could yank on it as much as I want without any worry about breaking it off. Seal this up. And the last thing I'll do is just give it a little trim if there's any stragglers. And then put a little head cement on the front. And like I said, and that should do it. John's Easy Albie Hooker. Try it. I think you find it works pretty well. Okay, have any questions? My email address is roadieflyangler.com, shoot me an email. Happy to answer any questions. Thanks a lot for tuning in.